The urn of Paul Bearer is something important in the character of a famous wrestler called the Undertaker. Here are some interesting things to know about this urn. Symbolic prop. The urn is like a special object used in stories or performances. In wrestling, it's not just a regular urn, it's important to the character. Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer is a character who used to manage the Undertaker. He was like a spooky, creepy guy, and he always had the urn with him. The Undertaker is a very important and influential person in WWE, which is a famous wrestling organization. He's like the measure of how great someone can be in WWE. He's not just great in the wrestling ring, but he's also known for being a good example in how he behaves backstage, and he always stays true to his wrestling character until he retired. He was very loyal to WWE, especially during a time when many other wrestlers went to work for a rival wrestling show on Monday nights. Even when he was hurt, he still went into the wrestling ring to entertain the fans. There's a famous match where he fought Mick Foley in a steel cage, and he did it even though he had a broken ankle. That shows how much he loves wrestling. And when you talk about The Undertaker, you can't forget about the urn. It was like a special object that added to his character, even though he changed his character over time to fit with the new era of wrestling. People still remember and love the old Undertaker with the urn because it was legendary. The urn was first used in wrestling in 1991. It became a very important part of the Undertaker's character and added to the sense of mystery around him. Over the years, the urn has changed in how it looks. When Paul Bearer, the character who carried the urn, lifted it up, it had a special meaning for the Undertaker. It reminded the Undertaker of his past and gave him motivation. The urn was like his secret source of power. Sometimes, when the Undertaker was in a tough situation and getting hurt in a wrestling match, Paul Bearer would use the urn to make the Undertaker stronger and help him fight back. So, the urn was like a magical object that gave the Undertaker strength and determination to keep going, especially when things were difficult for him in the ring. The urn had a special power, but it could also make the Undertaker weaker. The best example of this is in a famous match called Hell in the Cell, where the Undertaker faced his brother Kane. In that match, Paul Bearer, who usually supported the Undertaker, turned against him in the final moments. He used the urn's power to make the Undertaker weaker, which made it harder for him to win the match. So, even though the urn could give the Undertaker strength, it could also be used against him to weaken him, like it happened in the match with Kane. People believe that the urn holds the bodies of the Undertaker's deceased dead parents. This is why he gets his strength and power from it. So, in the wrestling story, the idea is that the urn has the remains of his parents, and this gives the Undertaker special strength and motivation. The Undertaker is considered one of the greatest characters in the world of wrestling. The person who runs WWE, Vince McMahon, sometimes gets criticized for his creative decisions, but creating the Undertaker character was a brilliant idea. However, making this character come to life and keeping it interesting for over 30 years is what made the Undertaker a legend. He was able to maintain the mystery and special feeling around the character all that time, which is really impressive. Even though The Undertaker didn't win as many world titles as some other famous wrestlers like Ric Flair or John Cena, and he didn't always main event WrestleMania like Roman Reigns, he is still considered one of the greatest. He had the talent to make exciting stories in wrestling without needing a championship title to make them interesting. So, The Undertaker is respected for his ability to create memorable moments and stories in wrestling.